All right, good morning to you all. A big thank you for coming out. I would like to welcome to you today Deb Baker, lead from the DBA. I also would like to welcome the city reps, Duncan Redford and Councillor Christine Thompson, to field some questions. Let's get to the point here. We're here today to discuss and to get a pulse from all of you on the downtown Market on Market Street closure, what's working and what's not working, and to hear and to try to get a resolution and direction to keep Market open or closed. How the meeting's going to work this morning, Deb, lead of the DBA, will speak on how we got here, what the procedures and protocols that were followed. After Deb, we will open up the microphone to all of you to share and to give thoughts and direction on where the street closure should go. For it's the city's decision on the opening and closing of Market and what it takes to keep it open and closed. Again, this is not a bitch session. It's a respectful meeting to listen and talk about where we go from here. We ask you when you come to the mic, you say your name and what business you're representing. Are your sales up or down? And what are your concerns and solutions? Without ado, I'll introduce Deb.
Thank you all for coming. We appreciate your input, just as we did doing the survey. So ALF has the results of everything we've talked to all the businesses about on Market Avenue. So I'm gonna get him to go through the statistics of that.
Well, good morning, everybody, and I'm not very comfortable talking in front of a crowd, but I'll do my best. So the discussions in regards to the zone opening actually started at the beginning of last year, and it was initiated by the Chamber of Commerce. And the initiation was because of COVID, cafes and restaurant businesses needed to expand to the street to accommodate safe physical distancing for staff and for customers. So the DBA chose to manage the pedestrian zone this year, and we surveyed all of the businesses on Market Avenue. The results of the survey are as follows. Last year, the Chamber presented to City Council 9 businesses, 9 signatures in regards to the pedestrian zone. And of those 9, 2 of those businesses did not support the pedestrian opening for this year. So Deb and I contacted 21 businesses on Market Avenue this year, and 2 were not available for discussion. Of those 21 businesses, 75% approved of the pedestrian zone, 10% disapproved, whether it was a temporary or permanent zone opening or street closure, and advised that they would close their businesses and leave town if the zone was a permanent zone. 15% of the businesses disapproved if their concerns were not met. So the concerns mainly were pickup and loading zones, mobility challenges, client pickup, and client drop-off. 25% of the businesses preferred a weekend pedestrian zone only, and 75% of the businesses preferred an all-week zone opening. Majority of the businesses would like to see many, many more events on Market Avenue. 10% of Market Avenue businesses park their personal vehicles on Market Avenue. Another 10% of Market Avenue businesses utilize 2nd and 3rd Street for personal and staff parking. 7 parking spaces on 3rd Street are utilized by apartment dwellers. And in our presentation to the City Council, the reason for the pedestrian zone was as follows. For the benefit of Market Avenue businesses during COVID, we wish to increase the mobility and safe physical distancing for restaurants and visitors wanting to access their businesses. So the request was for safe physical distancing for the businesses, and the added entertainment was going to be street market vendors, but that wasn't the focus. So in discussions with the city, we did discuss a one-way traffic pattern from 2nd to 3rd, and then a pedestrian zone from 3rd to 4th. And the one-way traffic pattern was to include a one-way traffic that way with loading zones, 3 loading zones on the south side of Market. This was denied for the reason being in case of a fire-related incidences, the fire trucks would need to come down the very center of the street. So one way was not allowed. So we were approved a temporary pedestrian zone as currently seen. And in addition to what you see, we asked for 5 temporary loading zones, 2 loading zones on 2nd Street, 1 loading zone on 3rd Street, and 2 additional loading zones on the back alley from 2nd to 3rd. We also were approved an accessible parking zone here on 3rd, which accommodates 6 accessible parking spaces, and we have another 2 accessible parking spaces on the north side. So now the approval rating is 75% in favor, 10% against, and 15% as a maybe. And that was the results of the survey. Thank you.
So some of the events we have planned, are the movie on Market. We have the Market on Market. We have painting classes once a month. We have kids' games. We have a lot of different activities. Some of them will not pan out as a fact that, you know, we were trying to get dance classes to come out onto the street or jazzercise or things like that. Well, they've already situated themselves somewhere else for that. We were just thinking we have to think of COVID-friendly activities, and we had to think of things that would not necessarily benefit downtown, but to bring people downtown so that they would see what's happening and then end up going into the local shops and eateries, etc. Are there any questions? Okay, easy going then.
Okay, so that's the story on this side. I will open the floor up to you people now. The first comment comes from the Borscht Bowl. Becky couldn't be here. She addressed by saying, sorry, I won't be able to attend the meeting. I feel that the parking is more important than closing Market full-time from May to October. I am good with the idea of only closing Market 2 to 3 days a week. Cheers, Becky. Now we open up the floor to you and get some answers if you feel.
Hi, Barb, my business over here is Barb's Mini Emporium. I've noticed that when the Market's on here, my business picks up considerably, so I'm totally in favor of this. The only concern I have is for all of the spaces that are designated as handicap. We need them. We need some, yes, but they're empty so often. It's concerning as well. People are just parking there and not even seeing the signs, or they're not even aware. So I totally see the need for having them on both sides of the intersection, but having that many, I don't know. I'm just a little concerned about that. But other than that, I'm totally in favor of all of it.
Good morning, it's Maureen, Gem Theatre. So Marius sends his regrets he couldn't be here. We both just wanted to let you know that we appreciate the vision of what's going on down Market, and it could be achieved, but we think that it should be in little steps, for each step becoming successful before you continue on with blocking the whole thing. We have had feedback that tourists see us as a construction zone when they drive by and they see our no parking signs and so forth. So we feel that the businesses affected in the middle of Market are affected the most. Marius and I have been here quite a few evenings. There's absolutely no one around except for a few youngsters. So we also feel that there's a security risk there. So I don't know. I mean, with the street closed and nobody can drive, you know, they can practically do anything they want. So we think also that for the Gem Theatre, for us to be open at night, there's absolutely nobody. I mean, how many of you people are down here at night? There's absolutely nobody here except us. So we really feel that Market Avenue should not be closed to our patrons. We really did get a lot of negative feedback, although last year we weren't hardly open at all, but when we were, they really hated to have to go park like 2 blocks away, you know, sometimes and when we're busy, that's quite a few vehicles without parking. And so we do think that it's a lot of fun to have your Market on Market and have activities, and we're really looking forward to participating in the movies on Market. Excuse me, I'm not used to speaking in public, and I normally don't, so like I think you're gonna have a heart attack right now. But anyway, so we really like to support it, and we think it's neat when you have Market on Market and there's a lot of people around and it looks fabulous, but it just isn't 7 days a week. So we would like to see you have just certain days, certain times, and maybe after 3:00 p.m. you can just pull the barricades around and let our people come in and park. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Cheryl. I'm from Thistlepot Gifts. My business partner Bree is MIA right now, but that's okay. I can speak. I support it. I see the vision. What I don't support is the length of time, the May to October, the 4 days a week, because I feel that there has to be commitment. The 4 days a week for Market on Market. There has to be commitment that it happens. Gyro Park, it rains, you never see anybody. You know, you never see it empty on Tuesdays and Fridays. So I just feel that I don't want to bash it, but I just feel that maybe if there's baby steps, it's perhaps a little too fast, too soon. I think Market on Market and anything else is like a business. And it takes at least 5 years for sure in Grand Forks to build a business. So just taking the baby steps in the beginning. And I think it just, like I said, it's just too much, too fast. So that's all I got to say.
Good morning, everybody. I'm Karen, and I own the Hair Chair, and I'm new to Grand Forks and new to Market Ave. Again, I appreciate the vision. However, I feel in government, sometimes we swing the pendulum too far, too fast. And I would like to see it come back to the middle like the last two people. So, great job, great initiative. I'm behind it. I've supported some of the vendors on the street. It's just that it's too much too soon. And I think it should be definitely Saturdays. I think we should open it up to food trucks. And I think we should open it up to buskers or just more, and have an eventful day on a Saturday. And then on Fridays, if there was a special event, like you want to do the theater and the dance. One of the ladies said that there's nobody down here at nighttime. I'm one of the first to arrive on this street, and I am the last to go home. There's myself in the gym. I work till about 8 o'clock, 9:30 every night. And I've had some safety issues. I've had 3 approaches. And it hasn't been, hey, I've had one fella kind of shy and say, hey, can you spare some money? And then I've had another 2 that have actually said, hey, I bet you had a good day, you got some bluff money. And I used to park on the end in the parking lot, and until that happened, when the street closed, I put my truck right in front of my place now, because I feel if I can beeline to that, I feel quite safe. It's hard for me to say anything to them, because if I don't acknowledge, or if I acknowledge, then they know that I've left my days of money in my premises, and I fear that my window's going to get smashed. Or the other option is to give them a couple of bucks a night. And again, I've got clients that have felt like, hey, they want to stay behind for me because they're not sure. So it was said to maybe I should call my husband. And then at that point I thought, well, we just took women's rights back 80 years if I call my husband every time I want to feel safe leaving my work. That wasn't the point. The point is I should feel safe leaving my work at 8:39. I have one other issue, with the emails out to the group. I just have gotten one, and it was from Dazzle Dance, and I almost didn't realize it was the Downtown Business Association. I would really like to promote this, but it's really hard to promote when I know nothing about it. Like, I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't know what's going on every day. I didn't even know that it was going till October till just now. And it gets dark in September, so I'm going to be running my truck in October. Probably won't be anybody out at 8:39 at night in the dark at that time. That would be one of things, is just maybe we all get on an email list and send us out a schedule of events if this is going to be 7 days a week. But I strongly support definitely 1 day a week of a market, and then a day of special events, either Thursday or Friday, of something different. I've taken pictures during the day of different times, and it looks like tumbleweed could roll down the street. And I've seen about 2 or 3 markets that have been really successful, but when you look at it as a business person, and as a month and a half has gone by, when you only have 2 or 3 really successful days and the rest of the days the streets are empty, that's not something a business would support. I think that covers a little bit of what I had to say. So thank you very much for your time.
Connie?
I'm Connie Lawrence, and I own New West Trading Company, a health food store. I've been located on Market Avenue since 1988. I'm not opposed to Market Avenue being used as special events or even possibly on the weekends, every weekend, but I'm definitely opposed to it being closed 7 days a week. Speaking to revenue, my sales have been affected, amazingly so, since Market Avenue closed this May. And having it closed 5 months out of the year, it's going to put a lot of pressure on my business. I've already had to pare down some hours for my employees who live in Grand Forks, work here, have families, and do volunteering. My products are perishable. They can't be put out on the street. And if I had some to put out on the street, I'd have to pay somebody to monitor them, to sell them, etc. So I think that's kind of an issue, possibly just for me. I don't know, but like I say, my employees are being affected. My revenue is being affected. And the other thing I did want to say is that the communication with the DBA and myself, I'll just say myself, as a business owner, I don't understand when meetings happen, where they happen. I don't get any input from them, any newsletters. So I'm really confused about how I'm supposed to be represented by the DBA. I don't understand that. And with the city, I'd like the city to understand possibly that all the businesses, we all have a different viewpoint, I know that, but we're trying to work together to make Market and Grand Forks remain viable and lively. I'm not opposed to change. I really think it's a good idea to have new things like this, but I think 7 days a week, again, I think that's not really a doable or viable thing for most businesses that depend on retail, sales, and accessibility from the public. Thanks.
Lorraine?
We're listening.
Lorraine? Lorraine, no?
I'll try.
Bill? Okay.
I don't know how this will work, but I'm Bill. I have Landmark Comics and Gifts down there. I think one of the main things is it seems very counterintuitive to have a closed, empty street. It makes absolutely no sense. If we have it full of events and stuff like that, great, close it. Everybody has a good time. That just doesn't happen. The safety issue, I've had some of my lady customers say they're not comfortable coming down here anymore. That they see 2 blocks of empty street and they don't want to be here. My sales have been wonderful the last year. I've been so thankful. Support from locals. I can't figure out if it's a coincidence or not, but from the exact moment this has been closed, my sales are down 50%. The length of time from May to October doesn't work. Middle of October, we could be shoveling snow, for Christ's sakes. May to October, 5 months of the year, when our town is 4,000 people for all of that time except for July and August. I love the idea of July and August. But it doesn't look like 7 days a week works. I mean, if our area increases to 25,000 in the summer, we can maybe handle that as long as the events are steady and they're here every day, and they don't say, well, I'm coming one day and then we can't and this and that. It has to be consistent events. I do like the idea of July and August. I'm not sure about all the days, the 7 days. And to say there's no question that Deb and Alf didn't do a ton of work to get here. But the end result isn't working, and people who work really hard to get something done, if they get to the end result and it doesn't work, then you need to get back to the drawing board and fix it. That's all I got to say.
Wooden spoon?
Who's in charge?
Amber. Then we have, yeah.
So I'm Marion Peterson. I run the refinery. It's a consignment store. It's a great business. I'm all for any street closure with a market, but just to close the street. Like today, you know, we're not going to have a market here, and people, my customers, local people that come in, they don't understand it. They would appreciate it being open. So yeah, I'm for it being open when there's nothing happening, but if we're not going to have a market or any displays or anything happening, then I just like to see it. I just like to see it open. Thanks.
Same. I'm a citizen. I want it open.
Roger?
I'm Roger from Jogas, and
You're too tall.
I'm too tall. I think what I've been hearing from all the other businesses that we don't have a problem shutting the street down for a market. All the other days, we got to reopen it. My sales have been affected. My employees' hours have been affected. Sales are down. Customers are upset. Every day, you know, people are saying it's stupid. You know, there's nothing going on, open it up. You know, I like the vision, but as other people have said, you know, baby steps. And maybe not the whole damn street, maybe take an end piece at the end or something. Because this isn't working. That's all I got.
Quantum?
Hello, I'm Tracy from Quantum Cannabis, across the street here. We are all for it having vendors and markets as much as possible, but having the empty streets is a concern. We already have enough competition in this town and we're just fighting and get more customers. And now that it's closed, our sales have drastically declined. And in safety reasons, people don't want to walk 2 blocks to get their weed and carry it down the street with the safety issues. And when the market is full and things are going on, it's way better, and I'd love to see that. And I gotta go. Thank you.
Lorna? No? Susan? Anybody else? We've all spoken. Oh.
I just wanted to also address the concern about the property taxes that I pay $500 a month. And I think part of that property tax would be for my pages on cars. So, I mean, you know, if all that's deduction for 5 months, maybe I get a deduction.
Oh, she left.
Devon, Border Country Realty. My business is somewhat seasonal. Essentially starts probably the middle of March, beginning of April. And by the time the end of November comes, we're pretty much done for the year. The street being closed has affected my business, I'm going to say between 50 and 75%. It's a little bit different where 5 or 6 sales a month is how I make my living. And if the people can't find me, I'm never going to have any sales. I'm totally in favor of closing Market for any special event, any day of the week. I really don't care. But if there's no special event, open the street. Simple. That's what it was put there for. That's what it was made for.
Exactly.
Thank you all for sharing your concerns. Yes, these are concerns that the DBA has too. We do not want to bring any financial burden on the retail businesses. This was done to close in May because of COVID. We did have a plan to have some activity happening down here every day of the week. The DBA we're just volunteers. We all have our own businesses to run. If you guys have wonderful ideas, please make them come forward to put events on here every day of the week where something is not happening. The DBA is limited to, event planning when we all have our own businesses to run. We can't, and we've all done our bit. Every board member has taken an initiative to try to get events happening on the street. So things had fallen through. We would love to see events happening every day of the week. If you have ideas, please help bring them about. Share them with the DBA. We do have, sure, there are definite concerns. And October was just a month in our heads. And why we had done that is so that with COVID, we had no idea what the outcome was going to be. We had no idea how long this COVID thing was going to last, when things were going to start opening, etc. So we had taken October to the council as an alternative, so we didn't have to go back in August to keep asking for extensions. It doesn't mean it will be October. It doesn't mean it will be even in September. These were just things that we had to do as the DBA. We also went to council with some actually the DBA, we all had different ideas on days of the week, things like that. But when we approached council for the 7 days a week, it was due to a COVID situation. We want to make sure that downtown is viable. We don't want to stop people from coming downtown. That is why we've put in accessibility parking. That is why we put in added places for people to park. If safety is an issue, we apologize for that. But on Market, we do have the safety officer. If somebody wants to work with him, he's definitely there with his staff, ready to help anybody that needs help. I think what we'll do is, Does the city need to say anything? Okay.
Good morning. I'm Christine Thompson. I'm a city councillor and the liaison to both the Downtown Business Association and the Chamber of Commerce. With me is Duncan Redfern, our Chief Administrative Officer, who, if I say something that's I need advice on, that he will be able to provide that. Interesting comments and good feedback. But one of the things that I think that the business community has to be aware of is that the city does not have the staff, nor do we want to increase the budget to have our employees come in on weekends opening and closing Market Avenue. You have flower baskets in some of the parking stalls. Our staff isn't going to remove those. So I would really request that as a Downtown Business Association, it's my understanding that you are all a part of this, is come to an agreement of what is going to work, bearing in mind that it can't be an open and close 4 days a week. It has to be one or the other. Open all the time or closed all the time. The length of time, maybe that was a bit aggressive, but your DBA board needs to know that. And council wants to work with the business community. We support the business community. But you have to realize that there are costs that all of the taxpayers have to bear for the services that we provide. So, I mean, I heard, Maureen, you're concerned about the amount of taxes that you pay to have your business on Market, and I respect that. But again, we are here to serve the community as a whole. When we are approached, we make a decision based on the information that we have at the time. And so I guess what I'm saying is, please, if you want to make changes, you've heard what I've had to say with regard to what the services that the city can and cannot provide. So please come together and come to a decision, come back to council, and we can consider what your request is. So I think this has been a very productive meeting, very informative meeting, and I thank you for the invitation to attend, and to all of you for turning out. Thank you very much.
Any last questions? Bill?
Sometimes it's about, it seems, the lack of communication between Chamber of Commerce, DBA, the city. We were all discussing last week about whether to have it open part-time and that. And then the Chamber of Commerce comes in and gets volunteers on Sunday or Monday, right before our meetings, and fills all these flower pots up, puts them in the middle of the road. And now the city says, well, obviously we can't open and close it because there's a whole bunch of flower pots out there.
Well, that's easy.
It just, the lack of communication, just, I don't get it. I don't understand. We didn't have these out till the Chamber came and did that. Chamber didn't come to talk to us, they never do. And again, with the communication, I don't get any communication with DBA either, except for Alf and Deb came by personally a few times and talked and tried to get things fixed. I don't know what to say. I know we have lots of folks that would do this, and then you guys would say liability right away, but I guess I don't have a solution either, but that was strange doing that, sticking that up here just when we were trying to come up with a solution.
So I will talk a little bit on the communication. The DBA does have everybody's email address. If for some reason you're not getting a newsletter, please come and see us. Every newsletter has stated when our meetings are. The first Monday of every month, unless it's a holiday, then it falls on a Tuesday. And it is open to anyone. It has said, if you have any concerns, please see myself or Elf. It has said in there, it lists events that was happening. It has listed on it the days of the closure. It listed, and yes, it was coming from Dazzle Dance because she was the secretary of the DBA. So I do hope everybody is getting their newsletters. Please take time to read those. Okay? Anything else?
Yeah, I might just...
Yeah, please do.
Hi again. I don't think it's on.
Yeah, I just gotta flip it down.
So, just to be clear, our choices went from what I think the downtown core of businesses has said, and pretty clear, is we aren't against it. We want to come back, we're trying to come back with a solution. And that would be either 2 days a week or 3 days a week, and I think Saturdays, like a garage sale or something, but that got taken away by the city. So to be clear, are our choices to open it or close it? There are no other choices, because that's what I heard. And if that makes it very difficult to, yeah, that's, and with regards to the email, I did read the email. It was lovely. It didn't state when it was going to be open till, and it didn't state what events are happening on each day. So how can we help the Downtown Business Association or whoever has the market go if we don't know what's going on every day? Like, you know, I could look on a piece of paper and go, okay, today's event is this, and I'd be able to tell someone. There's no structured schedule of what's happening each day.
Okay, a calendar did go out.
I never
If you
received
didn't get that, I apologize, and I'll make sure everybody gets those.
Good.
Well, secretary. I'm not.
So I can try and answer some of those questions. Pleased to meet you. I'm Duncan. I'm with the city. I think I've met the majority of the people here today. So I think it needs to be clear that anything is possible. And you know, Councillor Thompson is kind of trying to reiterate or bring forward some of the discussion council has, but you can always ask council, and council can choose to spend any amount of money on anything that they wish within the legislation. So nothing is off the table. You know, from a logistical perspective and just as far as setting expectations, it would be an incredible amount of work to make Market look like this every weekend and then take it apart and put it back together again. So, and if that's not what you're looking for, then that's fine. But just setting those expectations as you pour out into the street, and as you add some of that infrastructure and you bolt things into the asphalt and you put plates in the asphalt and you set up that infrastructure, it's just logistical and it's labor intensive. And if that's not the expectation, then great, it becomes a lot simpler. That is the expectation. you know, there may be a cost associated with that. Maybe the group is actually suggesting or offering to do that. I don't want to put words in anybody's mouth. But from a logistical perspective, it would be labor intensive. Council can choose to do anything they wish. I'll make sure that happens. You know, and so just some clarification, I guess, on that. So to answer your question, no, it hasn't been bookended, and it's not all off the table, but just understand exactly what that looks like, I guess, if you're going to go down that path.
Could you not move the flower boxes onto a sidewalk right there, and like that would be one thing out of the way?
Sure. You know, and bike racks can go on sidewalks. You know, typically from a city standpoint and from a liability, we just need to make sure it's not something that somebody's going to trip over. Usually there's distances our municipal insurance wants to see, just based on claims in other communities. So anything's possible. It might not look exactly like this, that's all.
Excuse me, I'd like to make a bold statement here and just suggest that everything that I've heard today from everybody who's spoken on this side of the microphone is that they're in favor of closing Market for events and opening the street the rest of the time. And if you're not hearing that, then you and I have two different ears.
Also, to let you know that any event that happens on Market Street for a closure, the DBA has to go to council to make that happen.
Rather than throw stumbling blocks up, why don't we figure out the logistics of making it easier to close Market?
Okay, so the next council meeting is the 21st. So if a group of you want to get together and go to council, you will have to, can you go through the process, what they have to do?
So I always recommend going as a delegation, and then council has an opportunity to ask questions. That information is available on the city website. I believe the deadline is this Friday at noon for June 21st. And unfortunately, there's no public allowed at the meetings just yet. We think that's going to get lifted soon. And so it's via Zoom. That meeting will be June 21st, and that delegation would appear at approximately 10 a.m., depending on how many delegations are stacked up that day. But typically, there's about 3 or 4. So it's a form. It's fairly basic, just who you are and what you're coming for. And it's on the city website, or you can come to the front desk, and the staff at the city will get you a form.
DBA is suggesting that we need to divide and go to the council on our own rather than listening to what the majority here is asking for.
Hey, John, one more. So, do you you guys do realize, like, when you put this off now for another 2 weeks, and probably another week after that to figure something out, you're doing another 2-3 weeks of revenue that is way, way, way down. And you seem comfortable. Okay, another 2 weeks, another 2 weeks here. But that's unacceptable. Having this place empty almost every day for another couple of weeks, to me it's unacceptable. I can't see how you think that is any kind of a solution. I just don't understand.
Thank you, Bill. I hear what you're saying, but you have to understand that I cannot act arbitrarily in opposition to a decision made by council as a whole. And unfortunately to address your concerns, that is the way it has to be. It has to come to council as a whole. Council as a whole deliberates, and council as a whole makes a decision. And so, while it's frustrating, democracy does move slow. There's nothing that I, as the liaison, or Duncan, as the CAO, can do to change that.
So, how many times is council meeting this summer? In previous summers, it's been one meeting in July, one meeting in August.
And that is what is intended.
Okay, so if a delegation comes before council on the 21st, and there's nothing actually hard and fast resolved to do at that point, and needs more deliberation, you won't be available to anybody to do a next step until sometime in the middle of July, correct?
That's possible. Council can hold a special meeting.
Okay.
But there's a process that's involved in doing that as well.
Right.
So, and depending on the urgency of the issue, but no, the scheduled are one meeting in July, one meeting in August.
That's what I just wanted to make sure that people here knew that.
But as I say, there's nothing to preclude council from holding a special meeting to deliberate an urgent issue.
So it sounds pretty unanimous that the businesses are in favor of having market closed for events. So I'm just wondering what the DBA will be doing to hold, I don't know what you called it, but a special meeting. Will you be doing that to represent the businesses or not?
Can you clarify that for me, Tiffany?
Totally, yeah. I guess I'm just wondering, like, you represent the businesses to City Council, is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah, so if the businesses are asking and saying, yes, let's have market closed, but let's not do it every day, and that seems to be fairly unanimous, which that's good, will you be representing the businesses at City Council to make that happen, or not?
The board, at our board meeting, our DBA board meeting last night, because it was unanimous at the board meeting when we first put this process in order to present it to council. Last night at the board meeting, we would not go against what the board had decided previous to it. So if people want to go to council for their own business, personally, they can.
Okay, just for my own sake then, who's on the board? Like, is it not people from the businesses on Market, or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. There are only 3 board members that are not on Market Avenue. Every other board member is on Market Avenue.
Okay.
Okay, so then, as a member of the DBA, simply because I have a business license, correct? Okay, so the DBA is supposed to represent just our interests as businesses. You go to City Council, you're our liaison, is that right? Okay, so, but now I'm hearing that we have to form our own group, make our own petition, and go to city because the DBA has their decision made and that's what they're staying with. Is that what I'm hearing? Oh, I see. Okay, so I'm not being represented by the DBA in that sense then, right? Then I have to represent myself, right? I see. So then I understand where the city's coming from, because the city gets the information from the DBA thinking that we're being represented by the DBA. So now it's clear to me that the representation that I'm looking for has to be presented solely by me or the other people here that want, and we have to petition the city. Okay, I got it now. Thank you.
And that was just from the outcome of the survey.
Yeah, I got it. Thank you.
So I just want to say one more thing. So why are we going to City Council? Is it because they have to give the okay to remove the barricades on certain days? And so my idea, why don't we just put the flower pots back in front where they were all winter? I thought that was great. I decorated mine for various occasions. That would clean the street, and then at 3 o'clock we could have the merchants just move the barricade out. I actually just I came here the other night with Mary's, your barricades were all down, so I picked them up. Mary's went and picked them up because we don't want anybody to think we knocked them down. And so I'm not sure about the middle one, but the other ones are really light. You just go click, click, click.
To my understanding, the middle ones are actually attached.
Okay, but that's still no problem. Put a big flag on top and then people will just drive on through. We can unhook the little guys. They're really light. My poles in the theater are heavier than your little guys.
Okay, so just a question out there, because the DBA, we don't have our, people that will go and remove those. Who will remove those, and where will they stay in the meantime? So, yes.
Johnny already said he put them back there, right? Yeah, they're
Perfect.
We already have that done.
Okay, good. That's all that the city will need.
We'll do it.
That's all that the city needs to know, where they're going to be.
Well, we told you that week ago.
Not me. You didn't tell me personally. Sorry.
Okay.
I didn't get that memo.
Hey, John McNamara from Davedale Insurance. As a board member who wasn't at the meeting last night, I just want to be sure that from the recent comments there that, I think we've seen that there's a position of the majority of the business owners in the downtown area here who are expressing a desire for the DBA to represent that interest, and that's our role. So I'm not sure why the reply would be that they would have to form their own group to petition council to refine. I think that's what our role is. That's what we're supposed to do, is listen to our membership and take that position and present it to council. That's what I thought I was on the board for. I'm sorry I didn't make the meeting last night.
Any other thoughts?
Is there a response from the DBA about that?
I'd have to take it up to I'd have to bring it up to all the board members that were present last night.
Can you do that?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Hey, just kind of do a summary and let us know now where we stand.
Okay. In other words, where you want to go from here?
Yeah. So right after that, can we pick up our little guys, our little things when nobody's downtown? Do that? You know, who takes care of moving the planters, or do we have to approach the system, or you know?
So what you want is some clarity from someone to say, what's the next step?
Because time goes fast, right? Weeks are flying. It's already middle of June. Gem has to open. We want people. We want bumpers.
Oh, go ahead, John.
I think what I understood from Councillor Thompson is that the decision that was made by council is that Market Avenue, like they've approved the barricades being up the way they are. And to reverse that decision, we need to present something to council June 21st. Like that's the legislative, that's the democratic thing that's already happened at council. I'm just, when we're trying to get clarity here, I'm just trying to understand, because I think that's what I heard being said, and maybe Duncan, you might...
That is what you heard. But we're hearing, and there's two other councillors in attendance at this discussion. We can ask the mayor to call a special meeting if we receive the information from the business community. So I'm not saying that I mean, I can't just authorize the reopening. That would have to be a decision of all council. So, yeah, if you guys put something together that's agreed by the majority, come to council. I will do my very best to encourage a special meeting so that this matter can be dealt with.
Okay, I have a question for you. If they decide to do a partial opening like they're asking for, the central bollards have to go, and they're a safety feature so people can't mow their cars down through the center. If it's a flimsy barricade, is that a liability issue for the Downtown Business Association and the city? And then what happens to the patios? Because there are certain risks around anybody parking around those patios, and that has to be addressed.
I'm going to let Duncan take that one.
Hi. Sorry, so in the mix of it, so you're talking about bollards in the center of the road. So I think the center are bolted down. This is something I was asking about the other day. So
they are.
Yeah, it's more of a snow removal issue. You get center meridians on highways. You know, you get some of that as long as it's high vis. There is some reflector on there. I don't foresee it being an issue, especially in a 30-kilometer zone. So I don't foresee that single bollard being an actual issue if that's what you decide you want to do. Planters and low-lying things that are lower than the hood of a car, generally they recommend that those are off and out of the way for vehicles just because someone may not be able to see over their hood or be in a big truck and hit it. As far as the parking, again, this is something we've worked very closely with, I guess, Jogas in the past. I wasn't here for that. The boardroom and currently with Clyde's, you know, in particular when they shut down the indoor dining, trying to make sure that those businesses could still operate and try to thrive. And so when the road was open for outdoor dining, we put some barricades up. However, when it was closed, it wasn't as big a deal, but you need some delineation and it's really speed-based. So down in the 30-kilometer zone, you notice we used wooden barricades. More in a 50-kilometer zone, or where it's transitioning from 30 to 50, we actually put some concrete barricades down in that area. So really speed dependent, but we're pretty flexible, and you know, if we get a proposal, if there is a proposal for some kind of change, usually we kind of get together as a team, get the fire department in there, make sure the ladder trucks and the fire trucks work, get public works in there, make sure that it's not going to interfere with any of their works, and then by the time it gets to council, you know, in the meeting I'm able to say, yeah, no, we think we can work around this on a logistical perspective. The political side, we'll leave that to this group, but logistical.
But logistically,
I think we can work with it, yeah.
It could be done without extreme expense, because the council could come back and say, as a downtown business association, okay, you want this, but you're going to pay for it, and there's no people downtown to pay for it in the first place, right?
I think if the expectation was you were going to put everything out into the streets and then pull it off every week, and I don't think that's what anybody is saying, I would clarify that, but if that was the expectation, that might be a little different. You know, it's, I mean, we're fairly flexible. We'll try to work with, you know, whatever, you know, everybody wants to do, the DBA and the group. You know, council's been very flexible and has directed us to try to make it work, so.
Okay, thank you.
And I just wanted to say that with the downtown business community volunteering to remove things, then the costs that I referred to earlier that would have to be incurred by the city, I'll take that back. We won't have to have staff working on overtime and the like. So that's a plus.
I could just ask a question at this point for Councillor Thompson and CAO Redfern. I just want to be very clear. Is it possible, legal and not a liability issue, if volunteers from the business community would help out by taking down and replacing traffic barriers and the flower pots?
I'll let the CEO take that one.
So the easy answer is there's liability in everything, and you know, in my 15 years I've seen some pretty crazy things happen in organizations and the city be sued, and things you think will never happen. So yeah, there's always some risk. In these particular cases, in my experience in the past, if we're going to have some groups doing some of this stuff, we usually lay out a spec, and we have an accountable group, and often that group has insurance and additionally insures the city. And at this point, that's the DBA. They've carried the insurance for the market closure and indemnify and save harmless the city to make sure that if something does happen, that the taxpayers aren't on the hook for that.
Hang on, Connie. 2 minutes.
Just one last one, because I'm just not clear. What I'm hearing now is by Friday, if we want representation and the DBA is not going to do that for us, is that what I'm hearing? Oh, maybe it's not on. It's on? Hello?
Johnny?
It's not on, Johnny. Here's Johnny. Okay, so I'm just so I'm clear, so we're clear. My understanding again is that the DBA isn't going to represent us by a petition that we have to have into council by Friday of this week in order to be heard by council? Or are you saying, Ms. Thompson, that quite likely if we do that, we could be heard before the 21st?
What I heard from the DBA was that they could hold a special meeting to consider what they have heard today.
Okay.
And I would be prepared as the liaison to bring this forward at the next regular meeting.
Okay.
As the liaison and the representative to the chamber and the DBA.
Okay.
So you know, and that's going to depend on what is decided at that board meeting.
Okay.
So hopefully there can be some agreement and some work, because I mean I'm hearing and I'm very sympathetic to the issues that is being faced by the business community. So I hope that does, and I'm getting a nod from Deb. So you know, let's all work together and do what's best for our business community as a whole.
As a whole, yes. So so then the DBA, I'm sure you'll get a lot of us talking to you as soon as possible. Thank you.
Okay, so to sum it all up so we can get opened here, what I'm prepared on doing for you guys is I want each and every one of you to write down exactly what the end result you'd like to see, whether it's the 4 days, 5 days, to come to a consensus as to what you really want. I will collect these, if I can collect these by Thursday or sooner. I will present it, it has to be before Thursday because we have an emergency meeting with the DBA to present that, to have a vote or whatever, to take to City Council for Friday. So today is Tuesday. Let's give it 1 day. I will collect Thursday morning. And that's it. Thursday morning, we are done. If you don't finish it, I'm sorry you're not in it.
John, they also have to state in it what they're going to do. And so if they're going to, if they have ideas to bring more ideas for downtown, like activities, whatever, that has to be in there. Plus, if they're going to help in the business.
And again, just to reiterate what Deb is saying, the thoughts on the bullards, where the removal is, where it's going to be. I could use my spot in the back, if that helps. And input as to what you'd like to see more in the marketplace. Is that fair? Okay, so we will see you on Thursday morning, about 10 a.m. with your written letters, signatures. Thank you to the City Council, and thank you to DBA.